Welcome back, everybody, to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs podcast. My name is Greg, and I am your host. Thank you for joining us. If you're new here, this channel is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Also, when you do, hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. So, we're starting to talk about free agents that could be available, that are available for the Washington Commanders. And well, guess what? In just a couple of short weeks, 2, 3 weeks, it's going to be free agency time. The new league year is going to be starting up soon. And it just seems like just yesterday we were watching our team in the NFC Conference Championship game. This is one thing that I love about our team going so far into the playoffs is it feels like it's just a quick turnaround and then boom, we're right back into talking about what's going to happen next year. Whereas, when the team doesn't make the playoffs, it feels like it's forever before we can really talk about something substantial, right? It's like I guess you can talk for 3 months on free agency, but after a while, it's kind of like, all right, it just needs to hurry up and get here. It feels like it's taken 6 months. But when your team is actually good and when they actually make a deep playoff run, then it feels like, hey, it's a quick turnaround. Now we can talk about building that team up even stronger from what it was last year. So I decided I would look and I've got 5 free agents. Now, this is totally my opinion. And I'm sure that some of you guys will scoff at this, and it's fine because I'm not like the authority on this, not like a lot of armchair um, GMs out there in uh, cyberspace that obviously has had more experience with this than I have, because they've played Madden for 10 years or so. But um, these are the guys that I think could possibly be targets. Now, one of them you're probably going to kind of laugh at, but there's a reason why I think we should bring this guy in. Let's just get started. Let's just talk about. Okay, so the first one is Kenneth Gainwell, running back from the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so of course, Gainwell took a back seat to Saquon Barkley, rightfully so. But when Gainwell got his opportunity, I mean, he was explosive. He was an explosive back. He was very fast and he was hard to take down. Um, he could churn out 10, 11 yards on one carry easily. And I think that is something that we need for the Washington Commanders. Now, this past year, we had B Rob being the main featured back. Um, but we got some guys back there who either for some reason or another um, may not get their opportunity in Washington. Although I would probably say that, there's nothing wrong with Chris Rodriguez unless it's a practice thing. And similar to Gainwell, it seems like every time that Rodriguez got the ball, he did something good with it. But Gainwell, for one thing, I think could help to kind of weaken your opponent as well. What if something happens to Barkley? They're going to have to go out and find another guy who can be somewhat explosive. And so getting Gainwell, I think, would definitely help our backfield because I feel like our backfield's going to change next year and we need some upgrades. The second guy, now it's actually a couple of guys. It's an either or here. Um, for the defensive edge, I would either re-sign Dante Fowler because I thought Fowler had some very big games. Thought he had some good games this year. I thought he played really well. and I wouldn't mind seeing him back. I think he can be a good asset for Washington. There might be some better defensive ends out there, and that's why I again am looking to the Eagles. I know Eagles fans right now that they got their heads inflated because they're like, yeah, you want to win the Super Bowl with all of our players, right? Well, it's about weakening your foe's team, but it's also about going out there and finding the best guy for each position. And Josh Sweat certainly is a fantastic defensive edge. Now he's looking to get paid. And that's the thing. Will Washington be able to give him the money he wants? Because he could essentially stay in Philly on, a little bit of a hometown discount and possibly win more Super Bowls. Pains me to say that, but that could be the case. Or he could go to a division rival and see if he can win Super Bowl there. So it's either or of those guys, but I know that we're always looking to upgrade the edge there. I mean, we're looking to upgrade a lot of the defense, I think, anyway. But I think when you're looking at those two, um, either one of those guys, I think, either you re-sign Fowler or you go out and try to get Josh Sweat. Now, the third, this is the one that I think you're going to laugh at. I would welcome back Morgan Moses at right tackle any day of the week. When Morgan was in Washington with us, he was a solid player. He played. I mean, he was an anchor. I felt, between when you had him and Trent Williams in there. I mean, that offensive line I thought was one of the better offensive lines in the league. And Morgan Moses, I know he's got some miles under him now, and you wouldn't sign him to this huge deal, maybe like a 1-year deal or something like that. But I think he's an upgrade over Wiley. I really believe that, and I think having Morgan Moses there would definitely help. Could he even play left tackle? Maybe. He's big, but I think that having him at right tackle is an upgrade over Wiley. I really do. Um, and also another guy out there, I just kind of threw this in because he wasn't, part of the list, but we're going to have to be able to have someone solid while Sam Cosmi is recovering from his injury, and he could be out for half a year, whole year. And I think you need somebody in there who can be a right guard. And Brandon Sheriff, man, I wish we could bring him back. Now maybe I'm thinking too much of the past, but Brandon Sheriff was a perennial Pro Bowler for us, and still can't believe we got rid of him. We certainly downgraded when we did. But I think he's a free agent out there. I would love to bring him back as well. Um, but yeah, right tackle, as far as an upgrade for Wiley, I consider bringing Morgan Moses back. Honestly, would. Now we're getting into wide receivers because certainly there's been so much talk about the Commanders needing to add a solid number 2 for Terry McLaurin. And I'm going to sip on some coffee and it's going to irritate some of you guys, but guess what? I need my caffeine in the morning because I'm doing this before I go to work. Cup of Joe, cup of Joe. All right, so number 4, Chris Godwin. Now, why did I say Chris Godwin? Well, I mean, he's been a very good receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a number of years. He's 28 years old, so younger than Terry McLaurin. I think he's very solid. He's very dependable. Um, this is what you need in a number 2 receiver. You don't necessarily need 1B, although that would be fantastic. But I think he can be a very solid number 2. And I think if you bring in someone like Chris Godwin, Maybe you also look at Cooper Cup. I know that Cooper has had his injuries, but Cooper is still, he can still work that interior and be, one of those interior receivers for you. And I would, if the contract is right, maybe you sign him to one of those 1-year deals. But Cooper Cup, I think, would fit Washington very good. But Chris Godwin would definitely be your number two. I mean, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Cooper Cup. That's, I mean, that's a good trio right there. I still think you try to keep the Browns. Um, Noah Brown, Diami Brown. Diami, I mean, he started to have a little bit of a breakout season this past year, and I would love to keep him if the price is right. But I have a feeling he's going to want to get paid. Hasn't really shown a lot for that, unless you just specifically look at this year where he really started to show us a little bit more of what he could do. But um, having some good veterans who still have a lot of tread. Like I said, Chris Godwin's only 28. I think you bring him in. Number 5, James Daniels. And he was rated very high on the PFF grade. Was having an excellent year before his injury. So yes, again, there's some injury issues. If not Brandon Sheriff, I would look at James Daniels if he's healthy, and you might be able to get him on a little bit of a bargain deal because of the injuries. And if he's healthy, then he can be an excellent right guard there while Sam Cosmi is out. And I think that having some depth along that offensive line is something that you're probably going to see Adam Peters really focusing in on, as he should. And who knows, he may still look at the draft, and he may still look at the players that we brought in this past year to see if they can make a bigger leap in year 2. But if you're looking for somebody who can come in and be a solid, not an upgrade, but someone who's not going to give you too much of a drop off in talent on that offensive line, I think James Daniels can be that guy. I think Brandon Sheriff, bringing him back, could be excellent as well. So those are the top. Those are really the top 5 free agents. Probably more top 7 because I threw in a couple of other guys. But those are the guys that I'm looking at. Again, I'm not necessarily looking at big names, and I'm not trying to look at older guys either. I'm trying to look at a good mix. Some guys who are still serviceable that may have a little bit of tread on them, but guys who could come in and play well for us. But also some younger guys who can come in and contribute. Guys like Chris Godwin, Kenneth Gainwell, guys like that, Josh Sweat. And just basically, upgrading the positions as well if need be. Those are my guys. I know that a lot of the guys out there are going to have, obviously your bigger names, the names right now that are just all over the place in the sports media, that want trades and things like that. But I think we need to make sure that if we do trade for one of those top guys, that's the right fit, that we're not just trading for a name and we're not mortgaging the future for the name. At least we got a quarterback. We don't have to worry about that. I mean, that's a huge step. So once you get your quarterback, sometimes you can spend, a couple of first rounds on a trade for somebody who was going to be able to come in and play well for you. But At the same time, I do like being able to build our own, um, because for one thing, you're going to have these guys on rookie deals. You're going to be able to maintain, excellent cap status, and you're going to have a young team as well, a team that is going to be young enough to continue to win the Super Bowl year in and year out. And ultimately, that's what we need here in Washington. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a share, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.